Today, we're super excited to be joined by Andrew Berkowitz, Director of Growth and Innovation at comicbook.com. So, this is a huge announcement. You guys just broke this news, but comicbook.com, the internet's home for geek culture with 44 million monthly readers, is launching on chain commerce products on Solana, including a digital vending machine and a peer to peer marketplace for collectors. What does it mean for you guys strategically to evolve from a media property into a hub for collector culture?
Yeah, super excited to be here. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of companies that would identify as pure kind of media companies, editorial, are now in 2026 looking for different ways to create sustainable business models, really. I mean, the whole kind of advertising based ecosystem of media is really and has been struggling for a while now to sustain itself. I mean, programmatic ads on both sides of the equation, both the consumer of the information, but also the media companies. Like, programmatic ads really suck and they're not sustainable. And comicbook.com is unique in that it is already kind of a home for collector culture in a lot of ways, because it's kind of the single source of truth for kind of geek and anime and manga editorial. And as things break, comicbook.com is really the source people go to get the information that they're looking for. But now, taking a next step, we're looking to really make a stand in the collectible space, specifically around something they call in Yu-Gi-Oh! Returning to the heart of the cards. A lot's happening right now in TCG and Pokemon and One Piece. Prices are skyrocketing and they're investable asset classes now, and private equity is coming in. But at the end of the day, these are things that we grew up with and we used to play with and have fun with our friends with. And that is still at its core a big piece of the value of all of this stuff, of Pokemon. Like, I'm a massive fan of Pokemon because of the nostalgia, the memories that I built with my friends growing up in the schoolyard around this stuff. And it feels good to kind of re-engage with that stuff now as an adult. But returning to the heart of the cards and where we would like to go with comic book really just means, how do we get people playing again and engaging with each other and like connecting around this stuff, where it doesn't just have to be thought of as, hey, I'm going to invest in this like an NFT and I'm going to make a lot of money because Charizard is going to be worth X in 10 years, right? So that's really what it means for us.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, you bring up a point of almost like an oversaturation of the old guard and the old way that things are done. And I think that when you look at blockchain and distributed ledger, like you mentioned, it opens up all sorts of opportunities to kind of get back to connection, get back to like, the culture of kind of being in a community. And it's literally like, I kind of, as a sidebar, look at it as like just kind of the next iteration of the internet. It's like, where, what does blockchain and DLT kind of do for collectibles and everything else? I know when it does come to kind of like traditional people that are interested in, comic books or you mentioned One Piece, which my oldest daughter, and she got me to start watching it, by the way, too. But I could not do 1,200 episodes or 1,300 episodes deep. I stopped at like episode 230 and I was like, look, I'll do Demon Slayer and some other ones here, maybe Attack on Titan, some other stuff. I'm like, I'm not going to make it to 1,200 episodes with you.
I mean, it's like crypto. The narratives go so deep. You have to, if you actually want to come into the space, you need to take a lot of time to try to get enough context to even understand what's going on around you.
100%. Well, no, I love anime and all that other stuff too. And I remember, like you said, we grew up on Pokemon. So it's kind of like this weird full circle thing to see how much demand there is for the things that we were kind of just like naturally playing with. But one thing with those markets like counterfeits, high fees, I know counterfeits is a huge issue with traditional Pokemon cards, payment cycles, like lack of liquidity, I'm sure, in some of the markets. So how does building on a network like Solana fix all of these for comicbook.com, and what you guys aim to do to kind of get into this, or maybe go deeper into this segment?
Yeah, totally. I mean, at the end of the day, like, there's a lot of things that blockchain does solve. There's things that blockchain doesn't solve, but as an industry, we have these talking points around it. One thing that's so interesting in the peer-to-peer marketplace for collectibles, especially when they're like not slabbed, or when they're ungraded, or I guess even when they are slabbed, like when you're looking on something like eBay or Facebook Marketplace, like, you don't have a trusted middleman that's able to actually help facilitate the deal and prove that what you're buying is actually authentic. And so it's a funny thing, because as we look to come into the space as comicbook.com and build stuff on Solana, the first product that we're going to be rolling out is going to be a digital vending machine where you'll be able to basically rip packs or pull the machine and you can basically get Pokemon cards. And we're also going to have a bunch of slabbed comic books in there. So blockchain really is a solution for just the provenance and ownership of these assets. We have them in a vault. You can ship them to you if you want to actually own the physical item, or you could just hold the NFT in your wallet, and that reflects the actual ownership. And technically, that can be done with a centralized kind of Web 2 type of a database, but you don't need to, because doing it on chain basically removes the idea that you're locked into comicbook.com. You own the asset legally because of the NFT and the provenance reflected by that. And so that's something that is introduced by blockchain that is like a little iffy without blockchain. But I think what's so funny about the whole thing in the future state phase 2 of what we're building is we're looking to roll out a peer-to-peer marketplace to solve that trusted exchange problem. And the reason it's funny is because the solution is introducing comicbook.com as a trusted middleman to peer-to-peer exchanges of high value comic books, because we're going to be able to be the custodian of the slabbed comic book at a vault that we own. And then for all the buyers, we can now guarantee, because we've personally authenticated the product, that what they're buying is real. And so that's an interesting thing that, because the talking point is typically removing the middleman.
Yeah.
But actually, in this case, I think there's value on the peer-to-peer marketplace side of the middleman being a trusted authenticator of what's being bought by the buyer, especially when it's a high-priced item.
I think especially whenever it's like, I think one of the things that we have kind of missing traditionally in crypto, Web3, blockchain is like, you put it pretty perfectly earlier. It's like you have these people that come in for the sake of coming in to make money. And I think that when I look at like what you guys are talking about, having kind of that history with comicbook.com, the amount of readership that you guys already have, the amount of trust that you guys already have, understanding the culture, understanding the community, that's a totally different story coming in as a middleman compared to like some random firm that just comes in and is like, hey, we want to get into comic books and trading cards. It's like, yeah, but you don't understand the community and the culture behind it. So I think that it's very interesting. I think one thing that you guys it will be interesting to watch you guys tackle as you begin launching all this is 44 million readers, but I'm assuming 44 million readers don't identify necessarily as native crypto users. So how do you design for the non-crypto native audience, which is so important to get more people kind of into this space? And why is the adoption moment, why is this one of the adoption moments that crypto and Web3 has really been waiting for?
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's because you have to abstract it all away. You have to hide it all. The users need to know that they're getting value in what they're buying in terms of the comic book assets and the Pokemon card assets. And then beyond that, in my opinion, it's important to hide fully the blockchain from the user. I used to have a company in the space. We are a consumer crypto platform helping brands do marketing and engagement on chain. And for a mainstream consumer that's outside of the crypto native land, there's truly no value of it being on chain. Like, it's actually maybe even hurts you if the user finds out it's blockchain because of just the negative perception that blockchain has cultivated amongst a mainstream casual person over the past couple of years. That's just the reality. And so in this case, what we're building on the peer-to-peer marketplace, on the vending machine, like blockchain is a very necessary technology to underpin the whole thing. And I'm excited about it because with where we're at with the blockchain space right now, everyone's just saying that it was all just fintech anyways. It's all just fintech. It's all fintech. And that just sucks all the fun and the air and the creativity and the, everything we were building back in 2021, 2022, consumer crypto, new currencies. It was just such a more exciting time because the canvas and the possibilities and our collected belief as an industry felt like it didn't have a ceiling. Now it feels like we have a ceiling and a structure, and we're just, again, like fintech rails. And I'm not okay with that as an operator in this industry. We need to be maintaining a rebellious, creative nature to ourselves. And so in a lot of ways, I'm hoping that this rollout is something where we can really bridge the non-crypto native users with the creative user or crypto native users in one product, and maybe restore some creative art, fun vibes to crypto.
Yeah. I think we need some more creative art, fun vibes in crypto. I mean, I kind of like go both ways with it. Like I feel like, well, number one, I feel like 1000% I agree with you. The innovation that we saw in 2017, 18, 20, 2020 and 2021. I think there's maybe like inklings of it still now, but it's not, it doesn't feel like what it felt like back then. But I think all of that innovation 1000% sparks the big institutions and the big enterprises that we see here now. I mean, it literally took those people showing what is possible. But I also think that like in crypto, we love crypto branding where like Web3 gaming, like I think in 20 years, people are just going to be playing video games and using blockchain and DLT and crypto. And I don't know if necessarily like they start saying we're doing Web3 gaming. I think it's just being used. I'm curious from like a user experience standpoint, because you mentioned the digital vending machine. What is it going to look like? Because I know you already mentioned abstracting it away, but I'm just curious, like what it actually kind of looks like in thesis, like when somebody comes onto comicbook.com or wherever the landing is and uses that as an experience, and like what do you think that they're going to feel as a fan? I guess is my thought process.
Yeah. Again, like returning to the heart of the cards, right? So it's like when you pull the vending machine, we want you to feel excited that, not only do you have an opportunity to like hit a high value asset, but like, you're getting a tranche of curated, interesting collectibles assets. The kind of like core foundation of this machine is going to be a pack opening experience for Pokemon cards and comic books. But on top of that, comicbook.com, because of how we're positioned in the industry, like we have a ton of network and connections to curate all sorts of interesting vintage collectibles, memorabilia, like all sorts of cool, fun stuff. And so we want you to feel excited when you pull the vending machine that you don't know what you're going to get, but you trust that we're curating properly and effectively on behalf of our users. And that's what I think the brand is able to really deliver on in terms of the trust that it's cultivated over the past, decade, 2 decades of comicbook.com.
I think you guys are in an interesting position to do it too, because given the readership and given how many people are on the site, you have like a front row seat, not even seat, but like you can literally kind of almost in a way measure trends. So like, what are people interested in actually like reading right now? What are communities interested in talking about? Like, I think there's all sorts of things that are interesting to like make connections based on like if somebody are like, if they're ripping open packs and stuff like that virtually, and there's certain traits, and do those certain traits connect people? Like there's all sorts of different connection things that you guys can do. And I think it'll be really interesting to watch from that angle too, because you have so much experience.
I mean, to answer your question, Pokemon, like it's,
Sure.
that's just what it is. Like everyone, the other interesting thing that's happening, I think it's like it's like a moment in culture. Japanese culture is really having a moment right now in America. I think it's for a lot of reasons, but One Piece, I think what's happening is a reflection of just like this like Japan kick that everyone's on. I know on my Instagram, all my friends, I'm seeing people dropping stories in Tokyo and Osaka, and everyone's talking about Japan right now. So, it really comes down to obviously IP, but I think people are just nostalgic for what we had in the 90s and the early 2000s, not just with like Pokemon and collector culture, but just like life. It was just a lot more simpler. And I think Pokemon just has this like, it was just big during this moment in history that I think everyone is really nostalgic for right now.
Totally. No, I think I can't tell you how many countless hours like watching Studio Ghibli and like even playing Zelda. Like all of my kids are sitting there playing Zelda, and I'm like, and they're, what is it, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom now, but I'm like, look, any meaningful Zelda person has to get in there and play Ocarina of Time. You got to go back to the old Super Nintendo and N64 stuff. But no, I mean, it's super exciting. I think so between Pokemon and One Piece, It's really exciting, and just congratulations again to you guys for launching. I think that it's nice to see like a custodian that's been in the space, that understands community, that understands the culture of, the different kind of, like, whether it be trading cards or comic books or anime or superheroes or all this different stuff tied into one. And then maybe as you kind of walk us out here, what you're most excited for kind of in the short term for launching on Solana, and what you guys are doing with comicbook.com, and what you expect to see maybe in 2026. And thank you so much for joining again, Andrew.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. I mean, Pokemon card ripping is a massive thing right now. There's already tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars a week that is just volume that's cranking through all these like Pokemon card pack opening experiences on Solana. So I'm excited about taking this moment that's happening in crypto native sphere. And for one of the first, like NBA Top Shot nailed it, but like taking a consumer crypto native experience and bringing that to the mainstream in a way that actually works and actually hits in a similar way. Like, we don't see that in crypto. That's been the dream, but like it's never really happened. And like NBA Top Shot, it happened, but it was still kind of contained in a way. Like, it didn't have a consumer crypto, or it didn't have a crypto native moment and then had like a massive mainstream breakthrough. It was kind of one moment. I'm excited to show that we can take a crypto native moment and make it a mainstream moment. That's what I'm excited about. And that's really like what we hope to do here. And blockchain has its uses, like its use cases, and it has its overhyped story narratives. In this case, I think we're hitting almost all the real uses of blockchain. And that's why I think we're going to succeed.
Why do you think we haven't had that? This is like a sidebar for me as we kind of close out here, because I totally agree with you. It's like, it seems like we should have had it by now. Kind of the mass moment that kind of met people where they're at with what they cared about, because like people care about Pokemon, and people care about opening Pokemon packs. People care about One Piece. People care about these communities. Like, I thought that it was at this point in time in 2026, I thought it was going to happen with gaming, or had the potential of happening with gaming, but I also thought it could happen with social media. I also think it 100% could happen with comic books and the collector community. So like, those are three areas that seem like it should have happened by now. But do you think it was just like too early, almost too early for something like that to happen? And it's like, we're kind of now approaching like
I'll tell you. Yeah. I'll tell you the reason why it didn't happen. Because when you're building for a mainstream consumer that's not like a crypto native consumer, your goal needs to be abstracting away the blockchain, right? But what that means in practice is you're just building a solution on a way more expensive and slow database that doesn't really add value. It just costs a lot of money because you have to pay gas. And so it's just like a much worse experience with no benefits. If you're building for a mainstream consumer where it's all abstracted underneath the hood, that's been the kind of core issue. In this case, there are real reasons why what we're building has to be on blockchain, around the ownership and the provenance of these assets. And so that's, something I'm excited about. And then, I mean, the other reason why it didn't work is because the crypto industry just burned all of our goodwill by the actions taken by the big VC firms and investors of dumping into retail volume and gaslighting everybody.
Sure.
So that's why we never broke through, because of that reason.
Yeah. There's been a lot of oversaturation. I know. I mean, I think we see it with some of the AI stuff now. Well, I want to say thank you so much. I'm excited about this. Congratulations on the announcement. Everybody's looking forward to the digital vending machine experience. Comicbook.com, again, 44 million readers here, and launching on Solana. This is a huge moment for Web3, obviously, but go check out comicbook.com at comicbook.com. Give these guys a follow on X at _comicbook. Give Genfinity a follow on X at Genfinity, and you can go and check us out at genfinity.io, and me at IOV_Al. Andrew, I told you this would be short and painless, so congrats on the launch announcement, and looking forward to maybe doing another one here as you guys continue down the path.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks.